Good evening, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to show you government support for its international carriers from the book International Logistics. My name is Felipe. I'd like to invite you to subscribe. If you enjoy the video, give us a like, support this channel with donations, start the notifications, share this video with your friends. Thank you very much. Let us start. Government support for international carriers. Nearly by government support, the international ocean and air carriers. Often leaders get together to discuss international economic problems is to have all nations cut back on this sort of subsidies. Nonetheless, the subsidies exist and for a variety of reasons, such as in national defense, which has been discussed already. Prestige is another reason, if one recalls seeing the tall ships displayed at the rededication of the Statue of Liberty. One should keep in mind that each nation that maintains one of these beautiful sailing ships does so far a matter of national prestige. There are a number of additional reasons for government support of international carriers. Developing nations want to use their own carriers as a rate equalizer to make certain that they are not exploited by the more developed nations. Furthermore, nations want to use transportation to develop trade ties in desirable directions. Indeed, an old reason had been to develop colonies. Finally, many nations simply want to keep abreast of transport technology. Cargo preference related to restricting the flow of certain traffic of nations on flag vessels. For the United States, this is usually interpreted so that 50% of shipments of products supported in one way or another by federal funds have to move U.S. bottoms. A common clause in U.S.-Russia grain deals is that one-third move on U.S. vessels, one-third on Russian vessels, and one-third on their nation vessels. Starting in 1989, three-fourths of food of our peace crops and grains sold under the Agriculture Department's export promotion programs were to be shipped on U.S. flag vessels. U.S. farmer objects to cargo preference of grain sales because the requirements to the U.S. flag vessels in preference on grain sales because of requirements to U.S. flag vessels increase the cost of transportation, reducing the net amount for buying grain. Some figures for early 1990s for grain from the U.S. to Portland had U.S. flag carriers bidding about 35 per ton, whereas the going rate was about $15. Cargoes found by the U.S. Department of Defense are supposed to move on U.S. flag vessels. U.S. cargo preference rules also apply to imports, as some U.S. cities discovered as they imported foreign-built buses and rail transit vehicles, purchased with subsidy from the Federal Transit Administration. Preference rules sometimes work in peculiar ways. In 1985, a U.S. citizen knows that there was so U.S. flag service to Iceland, so he formed a small shipping company, hoping to carry U.S. Navy cargo because of cargo preference. As the only American flag operator on the route, he could be assured of the U.S. Navy's because of cargo preference law. Published the same tariff rates as the small Icelandic ship which had monopolized the business for years, and the firm was on its way to making a fortune when it became apparent he had stepped on several toes, those of the Navy and the Icelandic government, which threatened to throw the Navy off the island unless it went back to using Iceland ships. The Navy then began flying the cargo, apparently to force the U.S. flag carrier out of business. The issue was decided in 1986. The U.S. flag line got 35 of the cargo, even though under U.S. law it was entitled to carry 100%. Other nations also have cargo preference rules. For example, in 1988, Korea tried to force regulations calling carriage of 100% of steel export on the carrying flag vessels. The United States objected, and Korea lowered limit to 70%. Some other nations exercised cargo preference through restricting the use of terminals to their own flag carriers. Cargo preference can also be achieved by bilateral agreements, with the U.S. agreement with Brazil being a good example. In 1970, Brazil and the United States signed an agreement giving each nation flag half of the trade. U.S. firms shipped to Brazil complained that rates charged to U.S. exports to Brazil range from 19% to 700 to 7% higher than what European competitors pay to ship the same product from Europe. The agreement continues to be renewed. One item in 1986 agreement said that neither government would adopt purpose measures which would interfere with the development of international model and rates and services within the territory of other party. This was decided by the United States because its carriers were more containers. In the early 1990s was an announcement that the agreement had been renewed once again. Apparently 40-40-20 split is used in third flag lists as Brazilian and US flag carriers. Reference just made to 40-40-20 split that is in reference to a line code adopted by most nations of the world that is enforced. Reserve line traffic between nations. A and B in following manner: 40% moves on vessels and A 40% moves in vessels of nation B, and 20% move on vessels from any nation cross-traded. Liners offer scheduled service and vary cargo that is more valuable than the bulk carriers. This code was adopted by UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, with the strong backing